Namaste students. So in today's session we will discuss about the mechanism of breathing. So in the previous session we discussed about different respiratory organs as well as the human respiratory system. So here we will study about the mechanism of breathing, how breathing takes place. What are the changes which are seen in the lungs as well as the connecting structures. So here in the mechanism of breathing it mainly involves two steps. Okay, first one is the inspiration and second one is the expiration. Inspiration refers to inhalation of oxygen drawn in. So that is nothing but the inspiration. Whereas expiration refers to the removal of carbon dioxide and expelling air out, and that refers to the expiration. For all these we need to know some of the terms such as there is intrapulmonary pressure. Intrapulmonary pressure. So what is this intrapulmonary pressure? The pressure exerted by the lungs. Okay, pressure exerted by the lungs is known to be the intrapulmonary pressure in relation with the atmospheric pressure. Okay, intrapulmonary pressure in relationship with the atmospheric pressure. So the pressure exerted by the lungs is known to be the intrapulmonary pressure as well as the atmospheric pressure. And here there are mainly two types of muscles are involved in the mechanism. So those muscles are phrenic muscles of diaphragm, as well as external intercostal muscles of ribs. Okay, on the sides there is the external intercostal muscles of ribs as well as the phrenic muscles of diaphragm. These two muscles are very important in the process of inspiration. So now we will see what happens in the process of inspiration. First and foremost, there is a contraction of diaphragm. So the normal position of diaphragm is in this way. So during the contraction it moves down. Okay, that will move down. So first foremost thing is that there is a contraction of phrenic muscle, nothing but the contraction of diaphragm muscle. So that leads to the diaphragm which will move down, contraction of diaphragm. So then what happens? Then there is a contraction of external intercostal muscles. As the phrenic muscle contracted, next the external intercostal muscles will be contracted. When the external intercostal muscles will be contracted, the ribs and sternum will be raised. Contraction in the sense they normally attach to the lungs, so they will be raised, slightly raised. When these are raised, okay, diaphragm moves down and the external intercostal muscles, when they are raised, then what happens is the pulmonary volume, the lung capacity, the lung volume will be increased. Okay, so the pulmonary volume will be increased. When the volume is increased, what about the pressure? If there is a more space, pressure will be less. Intrapulmonary pressure will be less than that of atmospheric pressure. Okay, intrapulmonary pressure will be less than that of atmospheric pressure. So what happens? Air enters into the lungs. Okay, so diaphragm muscle known as a phrenic muscle is contracted so that the diaphragm moves down. The external intercostal muscles are contracted so that the ribs and sternum will be raised, leading to increase in the lung volume. So the lung volume will be increased, pulmonary volume will be increased, so that the pressure, intrapulmonary pressure will be decreased. So there will be less pressure inside the lungs so that air moves in. Okay, air will be entering into the lungs. So this is the inspiration. So that is air moves in. So next, after that what happens? Then there is a process of expiration. During the process of expiration, what happens? Diaphragm is relaxed. The contracted diaphragm will be relaxed so that it goes back to its original position. So this is its original position. During inspiration, that will be contracting, that means that will move down. So now it goes back to its original position, and the ribs and sternum also returns to its original position. Okay, ribs and sternum also returns to its original position. Then what happens? Lung space will be decreased because the diaphragm also moved to its original position, ribs and sternum also moved to its original position. So the lung space will be decreased. When the lung space is decreased, what about the pressure? So the intrapulmonary pressure will be more. Pressure will be more because the lung space is decreased. So that the pressure will be more. When there is more pressure, then what happens? Air expelled out. Air will be expelled out. Okay, first the phrenic muscles will be relaxed, diaphragm is relaxed, it will move to its original position. Ribs and sternum also moves to its original position where relaxation of external intercostal muscles takes place. So the lung space, the pulmonary volume will be decreased. In turn, intrapulmonary pressure will be high compared to the atmospheric pressure. So air expelled out. So this is nothing but the process of expiration. Okay. So this is mechanism of breathing. A healthy individual will breathe around 12 to 16 times per minute. Okay, healthy individual can breathe about 12 to 16 times per minute. So it will be measured by using spirometer. Spirometer is mainly used to measure breathing rate. Okay. So here this is one of the very important question for the exam. Sometimes they will just ask mechanism of breathing, or they can even ask mechanism of pulmonary ventilation. Okay, so it is also a mechanism of pulmonary ventilation, mechanism of breathing, or they may just ask to explain the process of inspiration, explain the process of expiration. Here very important that you have to mention about muscles of diaphragm and muscles of ribs sternum, as well as you have to mention about intrapulmonary pressure. Okay, so here the factors which are affecting is nothing but intrapulmonary pressure, atmospheric pressure, as well as the muscles. In the process of inspiration, what happens? First, phrenic muscles will be contracted so that the diaphragm is contracted, that will move down. External intercostal muscles will be contracted so that the ribs and sternum will be raised, leading to the increase in the pulmonary volume. Lung space will be increased, pulmonary volume will be increased, so that the intrapulmonary pressure, so the pressure inside the lungs, the intrapulmonary pressure will be less than that of the atmospheric pressure, so air enters into the lungs. So this is known to be the inspiration. In the process of expiration, what happens? Diaphragm will be relaxed, that will go back to its original position. Ribs and sternum also moves back to its original position, leading to decrease in the lung space. The pulmonary volume will be decreased. As a result, the intrapulmonary pressure will be increased. So there will be more intrapulmonary pressure. So when the intrapulmonary pressure is more than that of the atmospheric pressure, air will be expelled out. So that is the mechanism of expiration. So a healthy individual can breathe about 12 to 16 times per minute, and the spirometer is especially used for it. Okay. So this is regarding to the mechanism of breathing. Okay. So next we'll move on to the respiratory volumes. Okay. So next is about the respiratory volumes as well as the capacities. So regarding to the respiratory volumes and capacities, it is a volume. These can also be used in some of the clinical diagnosis, where the first foremost is the tidal volume. So the TV refers to the tidal volume. It is the volume of air inspired or expired during a normal respiration. In the normal respiration, what is the volume of air which is inspired or expired, that is refers to the tidal volume. It is around 500 ml. Okay, per breathing is around 500 ml. So the per minute it will be around 6000 to 8000 ml per minute. Okay. Volume of air inspired or expired during normal respiration is refers to be tidal volume. Next is about inspiratory reserve volume, IRV, inspiratory reserve volume. So the inspiratory reserve volume refers to, it is the additional volume of air which we can inspire or breathe in a forcible inspiration. Okay, in the forcible inspiration, what is the volume of air we can inspire, and that refers to the inspiratory reserve volume. It is around 2500 to 3000 ml. It is the volume of air, additional volume of air which we can inspire by a forcible inspiration. Next, expiratory reserve volume, ERV. ERV refers to the volume of air which we can breathe out in a forcible expiration. In the process of forcible expiration, what is the amount of air which we can breathe out? That refers to the ERV, expiratory reserve volume, that is around 1000 to 1100. Okay, 1000 to 1100. Next is about residual volume, RV. That refers to the air, the volume of air remaining in the lungs after forcible expiration. Volume of air remaining in the lungs after forcible expiration refers to the RV, residual volume. It is around 1100 to 1200. Residual volume is around 1100 to 1200. Next is about inspiratory capacity, IC, inspiratory capacity. The total volume of air can inspire after a normal expiration. What is the total volume of air a person can inspire after a normal expiration? Okay, it is the total volume of air a person can inspire after a normal expiration is refers to the inspiratory capacity, IC. It is also a tidal volume plus IRV. We can also get the values by combining some of the respiratory volumes or capacities. Here, inspiratory capacity is nothing but TV plus IRV. Okay, so the next is about the expiratory capacity. So here, expiratory capacity refers to total volume of air a person can expire after a normal inspiration. A total volume of air a person can expire after a normal inspiration, and that refers to the expiratory capacity, that is EC. It is tidal volume plus ERV. It is also tidal volume plus ERV. Next is about the functional residual capacity, FRC, functional residual capacity, that is volume of air remaining in the lungs. Okay, so here you can also check all these. Okay, if you want to check, for example, what is the capacity, what is your capacity, how much volume of air you can inspire, say volume you cannot measure, okay, you cannot measure, but you can do all these things. After a forcible inspiration you can try to expire, after a forcible expiration you can try to inspire, okay, all those values. So here Residual refers to the remaining. Residual is nothing but the remaining. It is a functional residual capacity is a volume of air remaining in the lungs after a normal expiration. Okay, volume of air remaining in the lungs after a normal expiration is the functional residual capacity. Next is about the vital capacity. It is the maximum volume of air which we will breathe in after forcible expiration. Okay, maximum volume of air which we can breathe in after forcible expiration or breathe out after forcible inspiration. Maximum volume of air which we can breathe in after forcible expiration or breathe out after forcible inspiration refers to the vital capacity. It includes ERV, TV as well as IRV. And the last one is the total lung capacity. It is the volume of air accommodated in the lungs at the end of forcible inspiration. Volume of air accommodated in the lungs at the end of forcible inspiration, and that is nothing but total lung capacity. So these are one of the very important questions for 1 marks. Okay, or sometimes even in the NEET match the following such questions can be asked, but for theory it is one of the compulsory question. It will be asked for 1 or 2 marks. Okay, so here respiratory volumes, tidal volume, volume of air inspired or expired during normal respiration, inspiratory reserve volume, it is a forcible inspiration, volume of air which we can inspire by a forcible inspiration, expiratory reserve volume, volume of air we can expire by a forcible expiration, residual volume, it is volume of air remaining in the lungs after forcible expiration, inspiratory capacity, volume of air can inspire after a normal expiration, expiratory capacity, volume of air expire after a normal inspiration, functional residual volume, volume of air remaining in the lungs after normal expiration, vital capacity, maximum volume of air which we can breathe in after forcible expiration or breathe out after forcible inspiration. Total lung capacity includes, it is the volume of air accommodated in the lungs at the end of forcible inspiration. Okay, so this is regarding to the respiratory volumes and capacities. So next is about the exchange of gases. So here exchange of gases, there are mainly 2 gases, oxygen as well as the carbon dioxide. So this exchange of gases which is mainly taking place between the blood as well as the tissues. Exchange of gases between blood and the tissues. So here one of the very important aspect in the exchange of gases is nothing but the partial pressure. So what is this partial pressure? So partial pressure refers to the pressure exerted by the individual gas. So it is the pressure exerted by the individual gas in the mixture of gases. It is pressure exerted by the individual gas in the mixture of gases. So it is nothing but simply you can understand it is the concentration of one particular gas. What is the concentration of one particular gas? That refers to the partial pressure of it. So it is the pressure exerted by the individual gas in the mixture of gases. So here we have 2 important gases for the exchange, that is nothing but oxygen as well as the carbon dioxide. So here exchange is between the blood as well as the tissues. So it starts from the alveoli. So we will see the different partial pressure of carbon dioxide as well as oxygen. The first foremost is partial pressure of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the atmospheric air. It will be measured in terms of millimeters of mercury, mmHg. Okay. So here in the atmospheric air, partial pressure of oxygen is 159 mmHg and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is very less, that is 0.3 mmHg. Okay, so the partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere is 159 159 mmHg and the carbon dioxide is 0.3 mmHg. So this is in the atmospheric air. So as the air enters into the alveoli first. So in the alveoli, the partial pressure of oxygen is 104 mmHg. Okay, so it is 104 mmHg and the carbon dioxide is 40 mmHg. So the partial pressure of oxygen in the alveoli is 104 mmHg and the carbon dioxide is 40 mmHg. So here in the alveoli, partial pressure of oxygen is more, partial pressure of carbon dioxide is less. So next, in the deoxygenated blood, okay, partial pressure of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the deoxygenated blood, oxygen is 40, in the deoxygenated blood, it is a carbon dioxide rich blood. That is why oxygen partial pressure will be 40 mmHg and the carbon dioxide will be of 45 mmHg. So that is the partial pressure of oxygen in the deoxygenated blood is 40 mmHg and the carbon dioxide is 45 mmHg. And next, moving on to the oxygenated blood. In the oxygenated blood, the partial pressure of oxygen is 95 and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is 40. Okay, so in the oxygenated blood, the partial pressure of oxygen is 95 and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is 40. Next, moving on to the body tissues. As I told, it is exchange between the tissues as well as the alveoli blood and tissue. So here in case of tissues, the partial pressure of oxygen is 40 and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is 45. So here in case of tissues, because oxygen will be utilized, that is why the carbon dioxide partial pressure is high, that is 45 mmHg. Okay, so this is regarding to the partial pressures of oxygen and carbon dioxide. In the atmosphere, oxygen is high, in the alveoli oxygen is high, in the deoxygenated blood carbon dioxide is high, in the oxygenated blood oxygen is high, and in the body tissues carbon dioxide is high. So this is regarding to the just about the partial pressure of gases. Okay, so in the next session we will discuss how the exchange of gases takes place between blood as well as the tissues, as well as the how the transport of gases takes place. Okay, so this is regarding to the exchange of gases. Thank you.